Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
And I am Josh Hallman.
And we're Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This podcast is just one of the things we do, so thank you for joining us here. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast. That way you don't miss out on our upcoming topics and interviews. You could also just DM us, like straight shot, no funny business, just, hey, Josh and Tasha, here's a question, or here's a topic you should talk about on the podcast, or again, just update us on your writing life. And you can do that at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out, or on our Instagram and Twitter at ActTwoWriters. I'm Story Thursday on Instagram.
I'm Josh Hallman on Instagram. We're on social media, apparently.
We are.
We're a little bit removed from the Oscars, but we hadn't spoken about it, and I just wanted to get a quick gut check.
I think they were an okay Oscars.
Okay.
I'm not hugely upset by any of the winners. Like some of the people who did win for certain categories were not my preferred, but that happens. That's fine. But I'm not angry about it. And I have in past Oscars been angry. There's no, listen, if F1 had won Best Picture,
I would have been so happy.
And Best Screenplay, I would have, that would have been a whole totally different story. But it was, I loved one battle after another.
When I was watching the Oscars, I got excited for a movie only because I saw this man in the audience watching the Oscars, and his name is Steven Spielberg. And I was like, I'm so excited for Disclosure Day. Just yeah. I'm here. I'm ready for the summer. I'm ready for summer movies. Yeah. Give me Toy Story 5. Give me Grogu. Give me Disclosure Day. I want it all.
Yeah. I think it's going to start with Project Hail Mary and just ramp up from there.
I cannot wait for Project Hail Mary.
I can't tell if that was honest or not.
I was just going to say my wife worked on Project Hail Mary, and I was going to throw that out, but then I was like, I'm not throwing this out. But now I'm throwing it out.
But now you've thrown it out.
Yeah. And I'm genuinely, by the time this recording comes out, I will have seen it.
Yeah, because you're going to the premiere?
Well, no, it was in New York.
Oh.
I'm so excited for it. I've heard nothing but great things.
Yeah, people seem really, really stoked. And I think the marketing is doing pretty well. Question, has Nicole seen it?
She has not.
Okay. I mean, that's such an interesting part about her job, right? She's there heavy duty up front. And then I'm sure if any problems come up, she's also there. But then she has no idea how it comes together.
No idea. And this is like anyone. It's kind of case by case. If someone knows people a little more intimately on a production, then they're talking. You're talking to a producer. How's it going? How's this? You have a set visit. It's XYZ. But most of the time, it's okay. I hope this turned out all right.
Has there ever been a time, and you don't have to name the movie or show, where she's seen it and she's like, "Oh dear God, I regret having worked on that. What did they do?"
Never in the history of seeing movies with her. No.
All right, I'll take it. It's fine.
This Week in Writing?
This Week in Writing.
This Week in Writing.
I just have something that I found interesting. I was talking to a producer, and he basically was telling me about this project they were working on, him and his company, and how they had a mandate for actually bringing on some actors who were in the age range of 40 to 55. And it was a very specific thing. And it was because they were now trying to appeal to millennials in this project they're working on. And they had basically put this cast together, but they were talking about he was saying, this is basically something that we're looking out for. And I was like, oh, this is really fascinating. And it got me thinking, because now millennials are the older viewing habits, sitting at home. And we started to talk about how often him and his company look into this. And he was like, very often. Millennials, us, we've moved into kind of the older person territory.
I also feel like we grew up in the age of theatrical releases being the only way to see movies. And we want to go back to the movies. You just got to make us want to go back to the movies. So
100%.
It makes sense to try to appeal to millennials because we love going to the theater.
You know what? The other thing I'm so sick of like the doom and gloom about the industry. I can't even talk about it anymore. It does no good in talking about it.
Why even put it out there or even put it in your brain? It's stupid. It's just self-perpetuating depression.
Yeah, it's debilitating. Sure, things are consolidating. Yes, things are changing. Yes, there's AI. There's a million freaking problems. But you know what? You got to just keep going, man. I don't know. I don't know. Just look at. Okay. Anyway. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, jumping off of, I guess, your sort of good news bears situation. I was also meeting with executives recently, and their mandate, studio executives, their mandates are theatrical releases that are original, guys. Original theatrical releases. They want things because of this, exactly what you're saying, because like they want to drive people to the theaters, and because they are seeing that more young people are going to the movies and they're excited about movies. So now they're like, oh, how can we get them continually excited and continually push them and continually surprise them? But it also means like looking at what is the content that that Gen Z really likes and responds to, and how do you tell really good stories that have some of those elements in them. It's interesting sort of being on like the other side of the hump of that, by the way, because usually it was like, how are they appealing to us? Like now it's like, how are they appealing to Gen Z? But that was really exciting to hear. And one of the executives, one of the things she was saying, and it's like so obvious, but the way she articulated it, I was like, oh yeah, that is a very big deal, which is that when Josh and I were growing up and going to the movies, Josh, often we'd be like, what are we doing on a Friday, Saturday night? We're going to the movies. And we would just go to the movies. And usually there'd be like restaurants nearby because it was a whole event. Everyone would do this. You'd go to dinner and then you'd go to a movie. And then you'd walk up to the theater and be like, okay, what movie am I going to see tonight?
So
and you would kind of know, but for the most part, you're just like, And then there's this plethora of options, and no matter what, you could see one within the next hour. and that's how you went and see a movie. And now you go on your phone and you decide ahead of time, sometimes a week ahead of time, what am I going to see? And you have to make this like really deliberate choice. And so the way people are choosing to see movies is so different that the way you have to market to them and appeal to them to get them to want to go to the theater now is also just very different.
I also wanted to tell you something. I was going to text you this last night, but this is for you and Paul, if you didn't already know. One of your favorite characters is going to be at the Cosm. Harry Potter. Okay.
Oh, I already have my tickets, Josh.
You do? Okay. Jeez. I was going to get my tickets yesterday. I was like, oh, I guess people knew about this. They're all sold out.
Oh, yes. The Cosm, if you guys don't know, it's like similar to that dome that's in Vegas, but half as cool, literally. It's like half a dome.
Yeah.
But there's they showed the Matrix there. Paul and I went to go see a Bills game there, which was incredible. It felt like we were there at the game. It's nuts. But yeah, when you see the Matrix, they kind of like turn the whole stadium, like the whole dome around you becomes like the ship that Neo is on, or it becomes the train station that Neo fights in. And it actually, like when Neo gets slammed into the wall, part of the wall starts to crumble around you. So it is this like very sort of like, I don't know, not quite 3D experience. But then also they pair food with it. So did you go see The Matrix, Josh, at Cosm?
No, I've just seen sporting events there.
Oh man, The Matrix, if it's still on, you should totally go. Because you know that scene where the Oracle brings him a cookie?
Mm-hmm.
It's perfectly timed. The meal is perfectly timed so that as she's like bringing the cookies out of the oven, you start to smell chocolate chip cookies. And then they bring you one right as like she hands Neo the cookie. And you're like, oh my God, we're both eating cookies at the same time. It is this crazy 4D experience that is awesome.
That's insane. Yeah, no, I saw they did like a 15-minute thing of the Matrix when this was a while ago, and it was like they were going to show the Matrix, and they did the white room where all the guns were flying and some other fighting scenes, and I was like, holy shit, like this is insanity. And then I never went back.
It's expensive, but the movies are a little cheaper, but it's so fun. I can't wait. Like I'm literally expecting the Harry Potter at the Cosm to do no less than change my life.
I wonder what the Quidditch stuff is going to be like.
I can't even, Josh, I can't even talk about it. I have another This Week in Writing that's real.
So this is real? What are you talking about? Yeah. This is the world.
was recently with a group of people this last week, and we were all kind of brainstorming movie ideas. And I just thought it was interesting to talk about like how you start from nothing. Like all that we knew is we wanted to um, figure out a horror movie idea, and that was it. And so, where's the starting point for that? And for me, it felt like the most productive starting point was we started to just write on the whiteboard like movies that we all liked. And then what do you like about them? Is it the concept? Is it the setup? Is it how it makes you feel? Is it how it was shot? Is it the fact that there's only one hero or an ensemble? Like literally getting into details about what exactly about that movie do you like? And of course, there can be multiple reasons. And then suddenly you have a list on the board in front of you of things you love about horror. And then from there, you can start to move into settings. Just start putting pieces together in columns. And then eventually someone is like, oh, fuck, like what if we did this, but we blended this setting? And it's because you get to look at it on a board and see it all in front of you that you're just like passively digesting it. So if you're someone who is at the ground floor trying to figure out a movie idea and you don't know where to start with these kinds of columns and just stare at it for a really long time. And if you don't have a whiteboard, use the giant piece of paper that we always talk about and just tape that up on the board or on the wall. All right. Well, today our topic is the part 2 of our lifestyle of a writer. My mom texted me after listening to our previous episode about like the negative things, the difficult things about being a screenwriter. And she was like, please hurry up and do part 2 so I could stop feeling bad for you.
Oh,
But so this is all the good things. These are the things that keep Josh and I going. And it really is a business we advocate for being in. We did the bad stuff first to just sort of get that out of the way. And if you had the stamina to stick through that, now we get the good stuff.
yeah. Sorry.
Sorry. Let's begin with the money.
Oh, the good stuff.
The money can be life-changing is my number one thing about the good stuff about this business. Listen, money allows you to travel and see the world and just it takes a load off. So money is important. And the money in this industry can be life-changing. And here's an example. In 2019, when I met my husband, I was living in a kind of rundown one-bedroom apartment in Studio City. There's no dishwasher. Laundry was coin operated downstairs. There were only 2 machines. We had a pool that was just accumulating, rot, basically. We had a shooting in the apartment across the hall once. We had a constant like ant and maggot problem, but it was all I could afford. Do you remember, Josh, when I was sending you pictures of my ant infestation?
I remember it all.
This was before you had your roach infestation, so you might not have cared about bugs yet.
No, I've cared about bugs my entire life. This is the problem, is that there's a few things I can talk about like all day, and one of them is like kind of insects and how they affect your life.
It was awful. It was really bad. But that was how I lived, and they couldn't fix it because there was a tree that just like sat on the roof of my section of the apartment. Yeah. So it was all I could afford. Then the pandemic hit, and for me, the pandemic was actually good. I besides being an introvert and being like, oh yeah, this is where I thrive. I also got a series of jobs that at first were kind of just good enough to pay my bills, but then it became good enough to change my life. I got Red Sonja, which was a movie. I got Naruto, which was a movie. I got Witcher Blood Origin as a staff writer. And as a staff writer, I was making something like $4,000 a week for like 4 hours of work a day over Zoom. I remember texting you and being like, guys, is this a real job?
This is the greatest
Why
job
haven't
ever.
I been doing this whole time?
Yeah.
Then I got Tomb Raider, which is my first show running job. And then I got The Mighty Nine. And so between 2019 and 2022, I ended up making enough money to be able to buy my first house. And that is a very short period of time. And literally, people's lives can change even faster than that. We have heard stories of people, their lives literally changing overnight. They make $1 million from a spec sale. Suddenly they can move out of their parents' basement and they are $1 million richer, moving to LA and making their dream a reality. And it is insane and it can happen. And that is something I know excites Josh about this business, is sort of like the high stakes risk game of it all, that yeah, you could make $0 one year and make $1 million plus the next year.
I'm actually happy we're talking about this because I feel like a lot of times people don't talk about money and they're like just kind of avoiding it because we're in the arts. But the reality is, I know how this is going to sound. I've always said this to you. This is why I know. This is why this is so funny to me. Is money's awesome.
Again, like it's been amazing to be able to have a house and get rid of sort of all of the things I hated about living in my apartment, and then to get to travel. Like I feel like, look, to bring it back to art, as an artist, it feels like money allows me to be able to do all the things I need to do to like make my art even better, to like go out into the world and experience things. Because before I was too poor to ever leave Los Angeles. I just couldn't.
This is definitely, I think, one of the biggest appeals of the entertainment industry, not just as a writer, because it feels like writing is also kind of like the lowest amount of money that you can make quickly, I think. Like, because
yeah, of all the businesses we could be in this industry,
it is. It's nuts because, you know, we have friends who are actors or something, and they're like, their lives change pretty quickly as well. I don't want to be Debbie Downer about this, but you have to be careful with the money because as fast as it can come, that faucet can just turn off right away.
Well, that's in the bad section, right?
That's in the bad section. We already talked about that.
That uncertainty of that financial instability.
I'm sorry. I was just
real.
trying to normalize everything we're saying. I'm gonna just stop.
No, we're only talking about good things.
Let's go. Let's shake the money tree.
But yes, certainly we've definitely heard of people who they sold a show and suddenly they're driving really fast cars, and then their show gets canceled and they're like, oh fuck, but I have all of this debt that I have accrued from all the things I bought because I thought I was going to be making this money for a while. So yes, the financial uncertainty is there even if you are making good money. Okay. Number 2, which should have been number 1. It's fun.
It's fun.
Writing is fun. Writing movies and TV for a living is basically the most fun you can have with your life, in my opinion. You just get to tell stories for a living, and you get to have professional meetings with actual professionals who are just talking about, like, for me anyways, wizards and like action set pieces and car chases and people pretending to be other people in video games. Like these are not only real conversations you get to have, but they are serious conversations you get to have, and people take it very seriously. And it's so nice to be around people who take it very seriously, which is going to be another sort of bullet point on the list of good things about this industry. But it's just fun. So the actual act of this job is fun.
Yeah, no, this is a big thing because what else is great about it is if I'm talking to you and I'm spitballing an idea, we're going over something, or if you're in a meeting with somebody and you get to talk about, yes, action set pieces. Oh, what if this happens and this gun and this, and they grab this and they fall and they shoot up and whatever. And then you get to talk about like relationships with people, and then you're sharing stories, and it's just this very communal way to just kind of connect with people and then figure out a way to tell it. And I think it sounds cheesy, but this is like something that I really love in terms of kind of people expressing themselves and having fun doing it, and figuring out ways to make it fit in whatever medium you're trying to tell your story in.
It's the best. I was getting my nails done the other day, and it's Burbank. So across from me, of course, were 2 TV writers, and I was just eavesdropping on their conversation. And one of the things that one of the women said was, I'm really grateful that I get to be a writer because every single day I have to seriously examine human behavior and psychology and why we make the choices that we do. So she says she feels like it makes her better in her relationships because she's constantly forced to examine why we do the things that we do. Whereas her partner, she was like, he doesn't. He works in like data management or whatever. And so like he doesn't really have to think that way. And so she was just talking about like how great it is to be a writer because we get all this insight on who we are. And that's another fun part. Like you're saying, like you get to just one day you're talking about set pieces and is this gun really going to go this way and how to do gun kata. And then the next day you're talking about like really deep traumatic things that happen with people and how do people come out of it. And it's just so great. You just the scope of humanity and also fun shit.
Yeah, fun shit.
It's the best.
God, I love this industry.
Number 3 is, because again, we're talking about the lifestyle of a screenwriter, right? And if you are someone who loves reading, this is a really great job for you because so much of your job as a screenwriter is actually reading material. It's reading books, it's reading comic books, it's reading graphic novels that get submitted to you from companies that want to adapt that material. It's also reading a ton of things on your own in order to potentially find new material that you can option and that you can adapt. It's reading a lot of screenplays, not only yours over and over and over again, but your friends' screenplays. It's reading strangers' screenplays so that you can learn from them and stay up on what's new and exciting in the industry. It's reading articles and doing research all the time for no matter if you are a drama writer or a horror writer, you're going to be doing a ton of research. And you get to write off every book that you buy for your job. So if you love reading, that's going to be a huge part of what you do as a screenwriter.
I'm gonna do a little subset of reading, and I'm gonna say tinkering. If you like to kind of like tinker with things and figure things out, yes, definitely reading. But when you were saying adapting, and that's just something that I happen to love is just kind of like, oh, how could this, and like the what ifs. And you're reading a book and you're like, oh, well, what if this has happened and this turns into a set piece in like the script? How would this look as a script? How can this be adapted? How can you tinker in and you like pop open the hood and like do some work under on the car? I don't know what that, but so that's what I also something that I really, really love is just like the tinkering aspect of screenwriting.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like our minds are always moving. And it's really unfortunate for our significant others. But no matter where we are, like sitting on the couch, going to dinner, or going at a party, my mind is just like picking up details constantly. So the world sort of becomes your giant whiteboard playground.
Mental
Whiteboard of details.
playground.
Yeah. Related. If you love video games and you also love writing, you are going to do very well in this business. The last 3 jobs that I've had have all been based on video games or games. 2 video games. One was a tabletop game. I just pitched on a video game adaptation last week, which means you can also write off video and tabletop games because they are work, they are research, they are potential things you may adapt or inspire you, and I love it.
Yeah. This might not fall into things that I love so much.
I was gonna say this is more a me. This is a me one.
But yeah, video games are great and it's fun to do. This almost feels like you could just. I'm not saying you're doing this, but like justifying anything. Like when I go on like a vacation, I'm like, you know what? I'm screenwriting right now because I'm thinking of a possible story that could take place in Hawaii.
100%. 100%. And then you're going to go write, you write a movie that takes place there for sure.
The daydreaming aspect. I love it.
That's kind of the point of these couple sort of bullet points in the middle is that it is a place for, if you love all of this shit, come here. Like that you get to legitimately do this as your job. And it's not just a dream. It's absolutely possible to achieve. And like, where else can you do that? Like if you go and get another 9-to-5 job somewhere else, you're just going to be dreaming about this stuff on the side. And you may find like a group of friends who kind of like that thing too. And that is amazing. But sometimes it's hard to find that community wherever you are. But if you do this as a job, like everybody you work with, it becomes your community of people who love video games and tabletop games and books. And it's great fun. Okay. This next one's obvious, but listen. If you love movies and TV, this is the best job in the world for you.
Yeah.
If you feel like nobody in your life cares about movies and TV the same way that you do, like you watch a movie and you try to talk to your friends in the hallways for like an hour about it and they're like, okay, like let's move on. I don't care about it that much. Then that means you are a professional screenwriter. Because everyone you meet here in your job, again, will care about movies and TV as much as you do, if not more. And you can talk to them for as long as you want about the most obscure things about film and TV that you absolutely want. These are your people. It is the best.
I love meeting creative people or people who are just telling a crazy story about how they got here or whatever. That's something that I just really love about this industry is you're inevitably going to have a conversation with someone who is just like quirky and it might not be like a long-term friend, but it's definitely someone you're like, that was an interesting person. And I really like that because without having some kind of like spice like that in your life, things can kind of go stale. Like I think you need to just kind of always just be like testing yourself and testing and pushing yourself and hearing different perspectives. And I feel like this industry allows that.
I feel like it's impossible to feel stale in this industry because, like I said, like every job is different. Every producer you meet is going to be totally different personality. You're going to develop with completely different kinds of people. Every movie that you work on is going to be different on set all the way to early development. It's never going to feel the same. Like all of those movies, like in Wanted, where James McAvoy is just stuck in an office and he's miserable. Like that will never happen to us as professional screenwriters, or you if you become a professional screenwriter, which is a good and a bad thing in my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, I mean, yeah, of course. Yeah.
But it's exciting if nothing else. Okay. Moving on to one that we also had in kind of the challenging section, but to talk about the positive of it is independence. So for most of my adult life, I worked a job with specific hours, right? I had to come in, I had to clock in, I had to take my 1 hour lunch, I had to clock out. For some jobs, it's like you get that 5 minute, like break that you have to take legally. When are you going to take it? I've always had a boss who oversaw what I did, who managed me, who gave me yearly reviews, who could fire me whenever they wanted. I was chained to a lifestyle that was essentially dependent upon others because I was an employee. But then as soon as I started writing for a living in 2014, I started making my own hours. I suddenly had the freedom to do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. Which meant that like my best friend and I started going to movies at like 11 a.m. on a Wednesday just because we could. I could take like a random Tuesday off if I wanted and just go do fuck all because I could. I could take vacations whenever I wanted for as long as I wanted because guess what? I could also work while on vacation if something came up because you can do this job anywhere. That's part of the independence. And there's nobody overseeing me except myself. And of course, in last episode, we talked about the dangers of that and the complications of that. But for the most part, it's pretty great. If you can figure out how to manage yourself, it is exceptionally freeing and amazing. And I will say, of course, if you're a TV writer, you are in a writer's room and you do have hours and you do have a boss who's the showrunner. But you also can't really get fired as a TV writer, and still all of the good stuff that we've talked about earlier all still applies. Your life is just riffing about stories all day, and I think that's a good day at the office. So essentially, independence, I think, is a huge win in the good column of being a screenwriter.
I agree. Overall, it's better, but it is scary because
there's some uncertainty in your feelings about independence.
Me? Yeah. I mean, I've gotten off course. Like, there's like weeks where I've been like, well, wow, did I just go out like 4 nights in a row? Like, what am I doing? Oh, I guess because you can justify any schedule that you have, so you kind of have to, we've talked about this so many times with creating habits and all the different things and just kind of locking in. But I would be lying if I said weren't moments where I just pushed things off because I wanted to spend time with somebody else or see a friend or whatever, it's like, so you can very easily slip in independence.
But it's the good week. It's part 2. So it's really great, guys.
I know. I was just saying, the independence is great.
It's the best. But yes, scary, but the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like Paul and I, Paul usually he's an editor, so he usually has a job that, he has to be at his desk editing. And it's like a struggle that we have is like, hey, Paul, I want to go somewhere for a week and just disappear from Monday to Friday. And he's like, great. Like, what am I supposed to do? Yeah. And it's like, well, I can. And it's incredible. It's, especially if you have worked most of your life in a regular day job, that kind of freedom is once you have it, you don't ever want to let it go, which is probably why I work so hard because I'm like, please God,
Yeah.
Don't take my random Tuesday afternoon movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. The last thing on the good chart is the culture. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but if you love film and TV, these are your people. But I think to get a little bit more specific, when before I would go into an office or I was an employee working at some company because I had to pay my bills, there was never really a sense of community or camaraderie. I mean, not genuinely. I was always the person at my office job, by the way, who would like throw themed parties, do like grilled cheese Fridays or whatever. But that's because I'm a community builder. But there's something about building a community in Hollywood, I think, with people who are all striving to achieve the same big, impossible dreams as you that feels very unique. Because this job is so hard, and because actually accomplishing the thing, a produced movie or a TV show, is so impossible and so rare a thing, even if you are a professional screenwriter, you will end up with so many people around you who are just rooting for you. And that is really special. And I think it's because we all know that if we don't root for each other and help each other out, none of us will make it. We will simply like never make it without community. And because we're kind of all in the shit together, it creates this sort of like band of brothers feeling where you're kind of like in this secret club where we all just know this job is hard, but we do it anyway because it's the greatest feeling in the world to do it. So in that way, we're kind of like addicts in just one giant big AA meeting. um, but it's great. I mean, like that is such a huge part of this. And a little story is, like, as I said, my husband is an editor, and for kind of a decade, he's been working in marketing, film and TV and video game trailers, sort of behind the scenes featurettes and stuff like that. But that felt like very much like a day job you go to and then you come back, and it felt like any kind of other day job. And now he's making the switch into narrative, like actually editing film and TV. And the difference I've seen in the community of those two jobs has been so interesting because the community in like the narrative space is very similar to ours, Josh, where everyone is rooting for each other. They have a lot of networking events where they're like, tell me about your struggles, I'll tell you about mine. And if I see a job opening, I'm going to let you know about it. And we all just like support each other. And it's because the job is so hard and so much about who you know, and they need people to talk to about that because it's so hard. Whereas marketing is a little bit more traditional, how you get those jobs. You see a job opening, you put your resume in, et cetera. So like that kind of like clawing your way to a job doesn't exist as much in marketing. And so like that community sort of hasn't formed in the same way. So that's kind of how the screenwriting community is, which is why we have Act Two. It's a place to like help each other up and to prop each other up and to ask questions and to feel like you're not alone in this, because God, it's so important to have.
That was beautiful. I agree. I do want to say one more.
Yeah.
Put a little bow tie on all
Yeah.
this. The hope of the industry.
Yes.
Everything that was just said and then some, where we can create things, you can change someone's opinion, you can collaborate, you can make money, like all the things that you just said, and then you can make a product like from this, or you can you just like, I love the idea of creation as well, where there's something that just didn't exist that now exists that people are responding to. Like that idea to me has always been, even still, and we've got to talk about this when we're like, someone liked the script. You're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
You like this character? It's based off of me. Like things like
Mm-hmm.
that always, I just love that stuff. I love that aspect of this industry and screenwriting and all of the hope that is tied in with it. And that, I think, is unlike many other avenues in life.
Yeah. Beautifully said. So that I think are like the headlines of all of the good things about the screenwriting lifestyle. And as we said last episode, we talked about the challenging stuff. Hopefully the good stuff seems so good that you're willing to put yourself through the challenging stuff. That's what Josh and I have chosen to do with our lives. And it is so important that we have each other and that we have support to talk through those bad things. I can always text Josh when I get rejected. I can always text Josh when I'm worried about insecurity, job insecurity. And he's a very good. I have my Believe mug today because Josh told me to just believe. And so in honor
Always.
of him, I got my Ted Lasso mug out.
Thank you.
So at the end of the day, the job, just like any job, really has negatives and positives. But in our opinion, the positives are so positive that it's worth fighting for that dream.
Agree.
Okay. Quote of the day. You must stay drunk on writing so reality cannot destroy you. Ray Bradbury. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram.
I am Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act 2 podcast is a production of Act 2, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode is edited by Paul Lundquist.